As companies move to the cloud, many cloud providers are serving up industry clouds, cloud services that offer data models and workflows that meet the basic needs of companies in particular industries such as banking, healthcare, and manufacturing. By taking care of table stakes requirements, these specialized clouds are saving companies time and money. And perhaps more important, they are freeing up many leading industry players to innovate new services for their customers. Hi, I'm Stan Gibson for CIO, and I'll be your host and moderator. Joining me to explore industry clouds, why they are emerging, and how they might help your organization are Nadia Ballard, Research Manager at IDC. Also with us, Chad Wright, CIO of Boston Dynamics, a robotics company, and Kumar Iyer, Business Technology Senior Leader at KeyBank, a regional bank headquartered in Cleveland, Ohio. Nadia, to begin, just what is an industry cloud?
Sure. So the goal of an industry cloud is to develop new or connect existing assets and resources in a configuration that can deliver immediate value for a particular industry or a sub-industry. And this value can be in the form of custom data and insights, specialized resources, new tools, services and workflows, or collaboration spaces that participants can work on industry-specific projects. To be a little more specific and more technical, industry clouds are cloud-based platforms, products or services, of course, that are designed for this more industry-specific capabilities and to deliver value through vertical integration and those collaboration opportunities I mentioned, as well as the network effect that they can generate ultimately around them. So industry cloud in that sense focus on a combination of the technology and information and operational capabilities. And they're usually built as a infrastructure or more commonly as a platform or a software as a service, but it could also be a data as a service or even business process as a service for specific cases for each industry that they are available for.
I see. Can you tell us how many industry clouds are out there and what industries they might be in?
Sure. So we believe there are hundreds, if not at this point, thousands of industry clouds, right? IDC publishes a industry cloud directory for the last 5 years or so. And we have about 300 in the directory right now, but we believe there are many more. They're just kind of hard to surface because many are built for private clients, and only in the last 2-3 years did we see this, big high-profile announcements coming in from the cloud service providers, hyperscalers, enterprise software vendors, professional services firms, and of course, independent software vendors that have come into the space, and again, they provided a little more visibility to the industry cloud landscape.
Well, it seems the market is growing rapidly. Does your research tell us how fast?
Yeah, sure. We believe it's in the mid double digits and growing fast, really accelerating. About in the most recent survey that IDC conducted for industry cloud users, about 46% of those users said they have already implemented at least one industry cloud, and about 47 said that they're planning to do so in the next 12 months. So very fast growing space and very exciting.
All right, well, it sounds like there are plenty of benefits, but maybe some pitfalls also. How would you describe the benefits and pitfalls generally?
Sure. So the most immediate general benefit that industry cloud users see is really in this fast time to value, right? Industry clouds being so custom tailored to the particular industry or vertical, provide this kind of fast on-ramp to cloud, right? So it's already the pre-configured security and compliance, conditions are already there. So there's not much need for customization on the side of the customers, which take usually a lot of time and effort, but more specifically, industry clouds provide this kind of, they're built recently, so they provide this open architecture, a lot of composability, a lot of extensibility, which this day and age are very important for users. So that's on the benefits. On the pitfalls, if I can mention, it's still early days, really. So a lot of times the features and the benefits that the vendors mention are either rudimentary or still in development. So there is a little bit of, buyer beware in that sense. But overall, industry clouds also, because they are, they're industry specific, they are also a combination of a lot of assets, as I mentioned in the beginning. So they usually require higher consumption on the side of the customers from the original vendor. And that could, for some buyers, that could, they could be wary of that because it could be a lock-in for them with that vendor, right? So that's one of the potential pitfalls. And, finally, the biggest one, the most common one that we see with any cloud transition is this, not being well prepared for it, right? So industry cloud, by their very nature, require more sharing, more collaboration, more openness with your data and other assets. So organizations internally need to be prepared for that kind of shift in culture and openness.
I see. Chad Wright of Boston Dynamics, over to you. What challenge were you facing?
Well, at Boston Dynamics, about 3 years ago, we pivoted to become a commercial organization. What I mean by that is Boston Dynamics was founded in 1992, spun out of MIT. And it was a pure focus around studying leg motion of animals and humans. And so we're a robotics company. And for 28 years, we were research and development. It was all about building a single robot to accomplish a single profound task around walking and movement and perception. And 3 years ago, it made a decision to try and build a robot and make a profit. And how do we do that? And so as a company, you can imagine a 28-year-old company with no business processes around selling or marketing robots or recognizing revenue or providing customer support. And so that was a fundamental change for us. It's, people use the term digital transformation. For us, it really was a digital transformation, but it was really a business transformation. And so we needed to develop a platform, create a platform that would support that significant and fundamental business transformation for the company.
Well, what led you then to implement an industry cloud? And which one did you choose?
Yeah, for us, we had a lot of folks in the organization that had come from other companies and were familiar with Salesforce, for example. And so we were looking at Salesforce as a platform to run our sales and marketing organization and our customer support organization. And that was a pretty easy decision, right? Best in class, and we wanted to partner with the best, and that was part of what we did. From an ERP perspective, when we started thinking about financial accounting and manufacturing operations, among all the many choices out there, we chose Rootstock ERP. And Rootstock is built on the Salesforce platform. So what we've done is we've built this single platform, this single data model across our customers, our orders, our products that are focused on that Salesforce model and allow us, as Nadia said, the extensibility and the time to value where we can roll out functions multiple times a year. Upgrades are nothing like they were many years ago, where I've run I had 15 years of experience in the traditional on-premise ERP systems. You can probably imagine who they are. But with these cloud systems, we can move to value so much faster and provide value to our customers. And for me as a CIO, that was fundamental to our strategy. So partnering with Salesforce and Rootstock on that journey has been very, very valuable and very important to our success.
All right. And could you delve a little bit further into the benefits you're receiving?
Yeah, first and foremost was around visibility and transparency. And we had said even before we chose Salesforce and Rootstock that we needed to build a system that was going to provide visibility across the organization. When I joined the company 3 years ago at that pivotal moment, it was your typical, 10 silos for 10 departments, and people were building spreadsheets and trying to do their own things. And we said, as a leadership team, we needed to build a platform that would allow that visibility across the organization, because we felt that was going to be advantageous to us in our speed to market with our own robots. And we've seen that, right? We've had in our first year of ERP, we shaved 75% off of our order cycle time, and that had a lot to do with that visibility that these industry clouds could provide us. At the same time, time providing that extensibility where we can add on additional features, right? So I take that Salesforce platform, I can extend it now with Rootstock. I can also use the APIs that are available to integrate with other applications. And I'm very excited about, what the future holds and looking at additional extensibility of that Rootstock platform into other things like manufacturing quality and field service automation.
Interesting. Kumar Iyer of KeyBank, perhaps you could tell us the challenges you were facing at KeyBank.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, KeyBank is one of the top 25 banks, and we've grown over the years through organically as well as through acquisitions, right? And the same can be said for our technology space. I mean, it's kind of has a lot of legacy technology in play. So that was one of the problems that we were trying to solve, especially in our wealth space, where we had tons of legacy technology, a lot of manual processes and complex integrations, right? So that's the landscape that we faced. And then, there were really two options in front of us. I mean, we could invest in this space, right? And we could build a lot of things from the ground up. But also, there was the other option, which had started to become more popular, as Nadia was mentioning. So we did look at industry clouds as a potential option, and the reasons why we did that was essentially some of the things that Chad hit on, which is frequent updates, new features that we could get out of the box quickly without having to build, as well as the ability for us to solve for like the table stakes issues, right? The things that are essentially that you have to build, that every bank in this space has to do, that aren't really offering us any competitive edge, but still there's a significant amount of investment in actually getting those things done. So that was one of the reasons why we looked at. So essentially it was really looking at it from a perspective of, do we go the industry cloud route, or do we actually make significant investments to build this? And then we landed on the industry clouds for those reasons. And like Chad said, we also looked at all the major players here, the Microsoft, Oracle, Salesforce, and then we landed on Salesforce Financial Services Cloud, in part due to the fact that we were already using Salesforce quite extensively within our commercial bank.
I see. All right. So just Salesforce, any other add-on technologies or services?
Yeah, Salesforce and FSE in the wealth space. We also use, like within our commercial banking space, we use a managed package which sits on top of Salesforce called nCino. It is very niche and specifically supports our commercial, credit and underwriting systems. And so that is another area where we decided to go down this path of the industry cloud. And certainly it has helped a lot in terms of like speeding up the process of like adding new features quickly, especially out of the box features, and mainly in actually sparing the time that we actually used to spend before in thinking about and solving these problems. And especially think of commercial bank as being a large number of business units, right? I mean, it's like goes all the way from really small business banking all the way up in the commercial, the higher institutional bank and everything else. So it's like dozens of business units here. And like Chad pointed out, right? I mean, they were all using their own specialized processes, their own manual tools. Some had systems, some didn't have systems. Others relied on legacy technologies and integrations that are no longer being supported. And the ability for us to bring all of that under, one industry cloud umbrella with Salesforce and nCino, that certainly helped us a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like you did benefit greatly. Maybe you could delve a little further into some of those benefits.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about like within the wealth space. I mean, householding is a big one, as well as data. Just the fact that, if we had built this on our own, I mean, it would have been a significant amount of data manipulations that we would have to do, including building features for getting those, analytics and insights, business insights that involved like, millions and, millions of rows of data. You're talking about like one specific use case would be like, how do you build how do you get good insights into an investment client's financial portfolio? So this involves financial accounts. It involves, working with or integrating with multiple different systems in the back end to pull all of that data and then actually being able to provide those insights, right, using tools. So in the case of Financial Services Cloud, a lot of those tools are out of the box. So in the sense that we did not have to manipulate the data, we had to find a way to get the data onto Salesforce. But once they were there, the ability to roll them up, the ability to provide the type of insights that our bankers were looking for was much easier.
Great. Now, one characteristic of industry clouds is that they can actually implement enhancements that are suggested by users, enhancements that actually benefit everyone in an industry. So Chad and Kumar, I'd like to ask you, did you provide feedback that was actually implemented in your particular industry clouds?
We have. We've worked extensively with Rootstock through our implementation and sort of communicate the types of things that we need in our manufacturing environment. And they've been excellent to work with. They're sort of wired in a way to gather feedback from their customers. And we've seen such things as work order management and making improvements in that process. We've also worked a lot with Rootstock for any integrations. So we have a product lifecycle management tool that we use, another cloud solution, not built on the Salesforce platform, but leveraging the APIs to do integration. And so we feel like we're in a position where we can shape that roadmap. I like to think about these SaaS providers sometimes as crowdsourcing, right? Because I know that the things that Kumar might suggest, even if we're not in the same industries, they could be things that make it into the SaaS roadmap that I can take advantage of. And so we view that as a strategic differentiator for us as a company, being able to take advantage of these types of things.
Oh, interesting. Kumar, how about you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we have, so like for nCino, for instance, we were one of the early adopters of nCino, and nCino is a very niche product. I mean, it really caters to onboarding, credit originations, and underwriting needs specifically for B2B use cases. So from that standpoint, I mean, we were essentially able to work with nCino and have a lot of the features and functionality that we thought important be added to the product itself. And sometimes these were, so because we were an early adopter, I mean, some of these could be added as early as within a few release cycles, given that, both nCino and Salesforce do updates to their platform, up to 4 times a year. So some specific examples would be like, how do you create a standardized process across business units, right? How do you kind of, work within, the various limitations that you have and the exceptions and, the niche processes that each one follows, and how do you still manage to create like something that works 80%, right? So those were essentially the business analysis scoping things that we went through, and nCino participated with us as well in those. As a result, they were able to add a lot of those into the product, into the base package.
Nadia, based on your research at IDC, can you tell us about some customer suggested enhancements that you have seen?
Absolutely. The two that Chad and Kumar brought up are, some of the most common examples, like, which APIs to include out of the box for the vendor. Those are usually, very much based on that crowdsourcing from customers and prospects. And then a couple others that we've heard of is, for example, ESG functionality and incorporating that, especially as it comes to sustainability and that emission tracking, right? So being able to customize the supply chain, across the supply chain, the vendors that need to be providing that kind of carbon emissions information to be tracked for each vendors are easily some of the top new suggestions that we see now, that sustainability and ESG in general has been more at the forefront in the corporate agenda. Also, I think a lot of adopters of industry clouds want to see a little bit more transparency around the data sharing practices of the vendors, right? So this kind of push from the buyers on transparency, roadmap information for the vendors has been very crucial and I think very good for them.
Every implementation does present some obstacles and teaches some lessons. I'm wondering, what advice would you offer to others who might be embarking on an industry cloud journey? Chad, perhaps you could help us here.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of working on a number of different ERP implementations at several different companies. Several were on-premise. The last couple have been more of these industry clouds. And it's always the same thing for me. It's taking the time and resources to invest in preparing for the implementation. What I mean by that is do a current state and a future state analysis, because that's going to allow the business to sort of galvanize their requirements and build out a vision of what it is that they want to do. The first step is really, how do you do it today? And a lot of times people, maybe are not as familiar as they should be with how they do things today, particularly if these decisions are being made at higher levels in an organization. But that current state to future state analysis identifies the gaps that you can use to look at these industry cloud providers and see how they're going to best benefit your business. That allows you to build a product roadmap. It allows you to get in understanding what this industry solution is going to do for you. But that current state and future state analysis has been the same for me over and over again. It doesn't matter what that solution is. I find people don't always spend the time to do that, and it gets them into trouble during their implementation. So that would be first and foremost. The other thing that I would suggest is that as you work with these industry cloud providers is that you invest the time in understanding their roadmap. Because if you're thinking about customizing something in your initial implementation or as you continue to use the platform, you want to understand if it's coming in the roadmap. Like, hey, if it's coming in the winter release or in the summer release and you're willing to wait a few months for that, why invest the resources to build it now? Let's save those funds and redirect it to something else because I know it's coming in that roadmap. You can't just put it in the cloud and just sit back and relax. You really have to be active, and that's going to ensure the highest level of success for you and your organization.
Kumar, what tips and advice might you offer?
Yeah, I think Chad covered a number of these. I mean, I was going to say, I mean, like current state and future state analysis. I mean, that's really very, very important. I mean, definitely. I mean, I've seen it. Many implementations fail because at least the current state analysis, not enough time was spent on it. So I definitely 100% agree with that one, as well as the customization aspect, right? I mean, one of the things we tend to do is, one of the benefits of the industry cloud is obviously that, they bring all these features on a very frequent basis, often like 4 times a year. So it's definitely worth taking the time to understand why or, whether there's need to do any customization at all. Kind of be careful about that. Avoid customizations as much as possible. I'd also say maybe a couple of things to add would probably be a good governance model. I mean, one thing we found, like as we were, expanding our footprint, especially with Salesforce and with the other managed packages that sit on top of Salesforce, there were a number of initiatives that were cropping up, and it just made a lot of sense for us to establish a good governance model with best practices working with Salesforce. So we actually now have a Salesforce Center of Excellence that kind of runs all the initiatives that touch Salesforce. So I'd say definitely something to consider. And also fit for purpose. I mean, like, a lot of use cases come to us because industry clouds, like Nadia pointed out, they're becoming more popular. So, both from the line of business as well as from other places, we get a lot of new so-called opportunities, right? Where we could actually, look at potentially using something that's on Salesforce or some other industry cloud investment that we've already made. But I would be very cautious of actually doing a fit for purpose analysis there, because I mean, these industry clouds are specific. I mean, they are built for a certain, purpose, and their roadmaps are driven off of that. So I think that would be another one that I would suggest.
Well, thanks, Kumar. We're nearing the end of our time, but Nadia, I'm wondering if you could do a little crystal ball gazing and tell us what IDC sees in the future for industry clouds.
Certainly, yes, we love our forecasting practice, but what I really see is that, competition is increasing, right? There are more industry clouds being built in more industries and verticals and subverticals, and it's, that increasing competition is driving, these very verticalized, very specialized solutions that are, as Kumar mentioned in the last segment here, that it's, they're on a common platform, but the use cases are, very specific, and that's great because again, they, in this sense, industry clouds are replacing those heavily customized on-prem or private cloud solutions that organizations have built over the years. And now you can have it a la carte and be able to implement the industry cloud use case solutions that are most relevant to you, that can replace your previous setup. So We're seeing, the growing variety and abundance of industry cloud offerings will give users many more choices, right? So that's a great win there. And, we're also seeing that as industry ecosystems continue to get online, they become centers for developing new industry clouds, new shared applications. And that's also a very positive environment because it helps companies, I think, especially through cooperation with their industry ecosystem partners, become more innovative, become more creative in that sense. So, for the industry cloud landscape, I think it's getting more and more interesting. It's still the early days. So I expect a lot of growth, a lot of dynamic changes to it, and both to the vendors as well as to how users adopt them and use the industry clouds. But I think it will be a fun ride in the next few years. So hold on to your hats.
All right, we will certainly do that. Well, that is all the time we have in this CIO video panel discussion. Sincere thanks to our panelists. Thanks for joining us. For CIO, I'm Stan Gibson.